The country of Belarus is run by an authoritarian leader, Alexander Lukashenko, since 1994. In 2020, he lost presidential elections to opposition leader Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, but refused to concede to the results. His regime brutally cracked down on millions of Belarusians who came out to the streets to protest, and thousands of opposition figures still remain in Lukashenko's jails. Now considered by many and millions of Belarusians as well as international observers, Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya had to flee the country, go into exile, where she still continues to lead the Belarusian democratic movement and is here with us to tell us more about that. Welcome to TVP World.
Hey.
So now, Belarus is the most repressive country in Europe. What is life for the citizens of Belarus? What is everyday life for them like?
You know, Belarusian people now live in atmosphere of tyranny and terror. It's like Stalin's time era, when you can be detained at any moment. Any person doesn't know if he will not be jailed till the end of the day. So people who are opposing the regime, or pro-democratically oriented people, or anti-war people, pro-Ukrainian people, they're also considered to be enemies of the regime. After Lukashenko lost elections in 2020, he doesn't take care about love of people anymore. He wants to seed fear among Belarusians, to threaten them, to forbid them, to be politically active. And since 2020, all the free media have been ruined in Belarus. All the NGOs have been liquidated. 500,000, 6% of Belarusians fled Belarus because of repressions, and these people continue to flee and people continue to be detained. Every day in Belarus, 15-20 people are being detained daily without weekends. So, of course, people are scared. It's almost 4 years that Belarus is this atmosphere of tyranny, and 4 years our Belarusian people continue to fight. So every day people have to overcome this fear and continue to resist. On the ground, people organize, small underground initiatives, make small acts of sabotage. Those people who fled Belarus, they can be more active. And of course, those who fled Belarus, they are more vocal. We can be more organized. We can be rather, active on the international arena. I build structures, alternative institutions of power to the regime, and we are preparing for the changes. We are preparing for this new trigger that will help us, to uprise again and to dismantle this regime fully.
Now, I wanted to ask, because your husband, Sergei Tikhanovsky, he was thrown in prison simply for wanting to take part in the presidential race. Now, he, as well as also Nobel Peace Prize winner Alex Sumlinska, they are still in jail, as well as thousands of others. What is the situation of political prisoners in Belarus?
It's our national pain, our political prisoners, because people who are detained, it's men and women, children and elderly people, people of all the professions. People actually dying. We have already 6 people died, behind the bars, and we actually even don't know the accurate number of political prisoners, because people who are charged with political motivated cases, they don't want to be recognized as political prisoners because attitude to them is much, much worse. People behind the bars are constantly humiliated. They're being tortured physically and morally. People are kept without normal food, without fresh air. We have so-called, we call it humanitarian list. It consists of about 200 names. It's people with diseases, with heart attacks, with diabetes, people with cancer who needs immediate release, to be in hospital, but they're being tortured behind the bars. New type of torturing people is keeping them in incommunicado mode. It's a new word we have to learn. It means that people are kept in full isolation. For example, I don't know anything about my husband for more than 1 year. I don't know if he's alive. Lawyer is not allowed to visit him. In what state he is, I actually don't know. I don't know what to tell to my children, where is their daddy. And there are plenty of people like my husband, Maria Kolesnikova, my comrade, Nobel Peace Prize laureate Alex Sumlinska, you have mentioned. Also, we have, among others, we have representatives of Polish minority in Belarusian prison, and of course, it's our common pain, but we know that Lukashenko will not release these people. To release our beloved, we have to dismantle this regime, to get rid of Lukashenko, and to return people to their homes and families.
So now what has to be done in order to dismantle this regime? And I know you are in exile, but what is the mood among the people who are back in Belarus? Is hope still alive for these changes to come?
Our uprising, maybe it's not about hope, because our hope ended back in 2020 when we were at the brink of victory, and we have been waiting for help from democratic world, very quick help, and we didn't receive it, and we at that moment we didn't know that Putin needs Lukashenko to provide our territories for attacking Ukraine, but we lived with hope in 2020. Now our fight is about everyday hard work. Everyday hard work, attracting attention to our country, to strengthen our underground movement on the ground, to strengthen our national identity, to keep our free media alive in exile, to strengthen our civil society and our unity. So I believe in Belarusian people. I know that we are not giving up. I remember how it was Prigozhin March on Moscow, and we thought that it's trigger for Belarusians. Immediately, I started to get tons of messages from Belarus. We are ready, we are prepared, tell us what to do, we will be on the streets, we are prepared to make acts of sabotage. This march failed, and we didn't use this trigger, but I see how people are ready to mobilize when the proper moment comes. But, of course, no one war and no one fight cannot be won when you're alone. We need assistance, support, solidarity from the democratic world, because we are fighting not just with our local dictator. We are fighting against dictatorship as phenomena, because Putin also doesn't see Belarus as a separate state. He wants to subjugate our country. We see the creeping occupation of Belarus. We see process of Russification. They want to erase Belarus, everything Belarusian from our country. So that's why we need support. We need to, with the help of the democratic world, to put as much pressure on Lukashenko's regime as possible. From inside the country, it's up to Belarusian people, but sanctions, political isolation, more accountability processes, it's the tools that the democratic world has, and has to use it efficiently. For example, now we don't understand why sanctions don't work perfectly or effectively, because sanctions have such a huge loopholes that Putin and Lukashenko using each other, they can circumvent the sanctions. So synchronize sanctions between Russia and Belarusian regime for them to stop trade with the democratic world. Political isolation also important. Accountability mechanisms, track Lukashenko to accountability for his crimes, abduction of Ukrainian children, crimes against humanity, hijacking of airplane, row of crimes, why this instrument doesn't work at the moment. On the other hand, we need to strengthen people. For us to not to feel abandoned and forgotten. We need energy to continue. 4 years, it's rather difficult path already, and we don't know how long it will take more. We need energy, to continue to feel that democratic world, we are important for democratic world. That Belarus is not given as cancellation prize for Putin. That Belarus is not overlooked. We are explaining how the fate of Belarus and Ukraine are intertwined. That you can't save one country not saving another, because while dictators in power in Belarus, it will be constant threat to Ukraine and to our neighbors. So that's why what Belarusian people are waiting from the democratic world is more decisiveness. Honestly speaking, the dictators see, this, sometimes slowlessness or undecisiveness of democratic world as weakness. They think that democracy is weak, but democracy has teeth, and you have opportunity to show it and help those who fight on the the front line of this fight. Help us to win. We are not asking to fight instead of us. Ukrainians are not asking to fight to be in trenches instead of them, but help us. Give Ukrainians everything they need, all the possible weapons, all the possible support. Give Belarusians assistance, to continue our fight. So be braver.
And what about now, since you mentioned Putin, I wanted to ask, because work is being done on the border between Poland and Belarus to strengthen the wall on that border, as of course we see the Lukashenko's regime bringing the migrants to that border to get them illegally into the EU. What do you think is Lukashenko trying to achieve by this? And is he acting on his own, or is he fulfilling Putin's plan?
For me, as a Belarusian person, it's so painful to see that walls are being built between Belarus and the European Union. I understand, of course, why it is done. Lukashenko orchestrated this migration crisis, on the one hand, to blackmail the West, on the other hand, to distract attention from our internal political issue or from Ukraine. And it's like, attacking Poland and Lithuania, they trying to, as I said, they trying to blackmail. And look here, Belarusian dictator and Putin, they're acting together. Don't think that Putin is making Lukashenko do something. That Putin insisted that Belarusian troops had to join Russian troops, and it's Lukashenko who saved it. It's not. Lukashenko is the most pro-Soviet Union and pro-Russian person in Belarus. They're acting together, and Lukashenko is a puppet of Putin, and they want to protect their dictatorship. So. Until we dismantle dictatorship, they will be always, threat to your country that is gratefully supporting Belarusian democratic forces and to other neighbors. That's why it's so important, to do everything possible to not just showing that you are not just close the issue. We need to solve the core of this problem, because this hijacking of airplanes, migrants, deployment of nuclear weapon, it will be constant provocations, that could take place. It will be constant in our lives and in our neighbors' lives until dictators disappear.
So now, what about? Because I don't want to start my question by saying if. I will say when Belarus becomes democratic and the dictator is gone, how do you see Belarus in the security structure of Europe?
Recently, we had the first meeting with the president of NATO, Stoltenberg, but now we are communicating only on political track. The question of security alliances, it's up to Belarusian people to decide. Our task now is to explain what is NATO, what is European Union, what these alliances mean, because for 30 years Belarusian people were fed from TV that NATO is our enemy, that European Union is like rotten West, that they want to invade us, so on and so forth. So we have educate people what it is, what is democracy, how it works, what alliances mean. So, but of course, we see Belarus as part of European families of countries. We see Belarus as part of European Union. It's a long path. We fully understand this. But we have to understand that the European doors are opened for us, that we already make first steps in the Council of Europe, we are working on future reforms that will give us, possibility to enter European Union. This is what we have to work now. But of course, because Belarusian people are fully pro-European, we want to be part of, this wonderful family that is based on values. But we have to prepare for this. Now, before dismantling this regime, we have to install relationship. We have to formalize relationship with countries, with organizations. We are actually very effectively doing this. We have chosen pro-European path of development.
Okay, so Madam-elect President of Belarus, Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, thank you very much for speaking with us today. And of course, we do hope that those changes come as quick as possible to Belarus. Thank you for speaking to us.